Good morning, you lovely people, to this lovely Monday morning. I haven't been around for a few days. A couple of reasons. One, my wife only come back on Thursday, so we spent a bit of time together. Went into the city, did a bit of shopping, and blah, blah, blah. The same thing that you do once a week, going shopping. Anyway, two incidents. One, foreigner killed on a motorcycle. A bus hit him, and not only hit him, it knocked him off the bike and then ran over him, over his head. Dead on arrival at the hospital. And worst of all, the bus driver drove off. He didn't even stop. But the police were in pursuit, apparently, according to Phil Starr, and they caught the culprit. What happens about that, I don't know. But I suppose it's reckless driving, failing to stop. I don't know. Anyway, there's that. And that's why I say about motorcycles here, especially in the cities. I mean, if you're in like a rural place like I am and you want to go to the local shops on your bike, it's safer, but not exactly safe. I was on a motorbike for 6 years here and I had 2 accidents. And I'm going to say what everyone else would say. They weren't my fault, which they weren't my fault, really. But nevertheless, I had 2 accidents. One was a bit serious. The second one, not so much. But that was the reason why I bought this. And the second incident happened to me, if you want to call it like an incident. I call it shoddy workmanship, but there you go. What day is it today? Well, yeah, Monday. On Saturday, my wife's family took my wife to the funeral. That's where she was last week. Anyway, they brought the car back, and I noticed in the back wheel, on the near side back wheel, it was wet. So I thought it's a leaking brake cylinder. So I thought, yeah, that's okay. I'll take it to the local mechanic and get it done. Took it round there. The cylinder was leaking, right? So I went into Dipolog and got the seals, because here, back in England, I don't know about where you are, like in your country, but back in England, you just buy a complete cylinder, and they were like, I don't know, 20 quid or something like that, and you just replace the whole cylinder, the brake cylinder. Oh, here, no. You get like a kit, and it's these 2 rubber seals for the side, and I thought I'll do them both together. So I got 2 kits, right? Took them to the mechanic, and blah blah, there he was, and I thought, oh, I can't wait around, it was too hot. So I got a habble back here, back home, and the mechanic doesn't live far from me, maybe 10 minutes driving this. Anyway, I said, when you're finished, give me a call. So all day, it's like 5 o'clock, I thought, I can't be taking this long. So that day was gone, Saturday was gone, he didn't phone up. So I said, thought to myself, maybe Sunday he'll phone up. Well, he didn't. So I went round there, it was finished, but he just didn't call me. He was doing like another vehicle. So I said, all done, mate? Yeah, how much? Paid him the money. Then, I come back here and I thought, it's just not right. It's pulling on one side. And took it back to him. I said, mate, look, I said, it's pulling on one side here. I said, try it. And he said, no, I said, it's okay. I said, no, it's not. So I said, can take those. They were leaking badly, right? So not only that one was leaking, it damaged this one, putting new seals in. This other one was leaking. I thought, oh, fucking hell, here we go. So I said, look, because they're leaking, those shoes are no good. You can't use them shoes again because there's brake fluid all over them. And he said, no, you can burn it off with it. I said, no. I said, I'll go and buy some new ones. And luckily, and it was Easter Sunday as well, there's like a little shop here that sells parts for these multi-cabs. And I went there with the brake shoes and I said, have you got some of these? And he says, yeah. He said, I have, yeah. And he matched them up. I think it was 1,900 pesos for the set, obviously. You buy them in a set. Took them back. And I waited this time. I was just watching what he was doing. Fitted them. New seals again. I had to go and buy a set of these seals, these little just seals, oil seals in the brake cylinder. Did that, and he said, "Sir, can you come back?" He says, because I've got this other car to do, which he had. He was like a rebuilding, and one of these, he was rebuilding the engine. At that time, he was cleaning out the radiator. I said, "Yeah, okay." So he called, "Finished, sir, finished." Charged me again. Okay, because he'd fitted the new shoes. Right, took it out. Yeah, it was okay, but it still seemed to be pulling on one side, but not as bad as what it was. I looked underneath. I'm fucking leaking again. I thought, oh dear me, what's happening here? Oh, there's my wife. She's just come out to do the washing, Filipino style, the hand wash. She doesn't want a washing machine. Right, so I thought I'll take it to a different mechanic, because this guy was adamant that there was nothing wrong, right? And it was leaking. It was leaking again. It's leaking again. So I took it to a different mechanic, bought some new seals again. These seals are not expensive. They're like 50 pesos each. So 200 pesos for the set of these little seals. Bought them, put them on. No leaking. Great, excellent. I thought, it's still not right. It's still pulling. If you was to put the brakes on gently, it would stop in a straight line. But if you was to be a bit, because I was trying it, see, if you put the brakes on a bit sharpish, then it would pull to the left. And I don't mean pull to the left a little bit. I mean pull to the left a lot, where you have to hold the steering. So I explained this to the new guy, and he said, "Have you had the front brakes done?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I had those done about a month ago," which I did. They fell out. The brakes in the front fell out, right? So I had them replaced. Brilliant, And my wife noticed like a tick, 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 she said it was like someone hitting a bottle, like a bottle sound, like a cluck, 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 all the time. I couldn't hear it. I said, "No," I said that, that's just like a warm bush on the front, which I knew is not the bush, the inner CV joint, that goes into the transfer box or the differential on the front, because it's 4-wheel drive. He says, "No, Stephen," says, "it's at the back." I couldn't hear it, and I can't get her to drive because she don't drive, see, so I couldn't get in the back where she was to listen. So I took it back to the mechanic, and she told him in her language what was going on. And he said, "Yeah," he says, "I thought I could hear something like that." I thought, "Well, why didn't you fucking tell me? Why didn't you check it out?" So he got under the back end, right under, and he's looking. He's pair of mole grips. A pair of mole grips was on the brake pipe, where this guy, the first guy, had put a pair of mole grips on the pipe to stop the brake fluid coming out when he was fixing it. Fucking he'd left them on. That's why it was pulling to one side, because there was no fluid getting through to that side. But I would have thought that this new mechanic would have seen that, when he took out the seals, and probably thought to himself, "Well, there's no fluid coming out of there." No. Took this off, the mole grips, which I said, "You can have them." I said, because that's from the first mechanic. I said, "You can have those." And perfect now. It's great. It doesn't pull to one side. It brakes lovely. There is no leaks, I don't think. I'll have a look in a minute, actually, saying that. But it goes to show you, doesn't it? And the second guy I took it to, he's got a workshop. A good workshop. No ramps, of course. He hasn't got any ramps, but he's got all the tools and things like that. And he has got all the tools, welding machines. He even got the acetylene bottles. He's even got that there, which is uncommon, being in these rural parts, of course. And it just goes to show you, doesn't it, that they don't really care. Is it because I'm a foreigner and they wanted to kill me? That's what I'm thinking. Especially leaving a pair of mole grips tight on a brake pipe, on a flexi pipe. How didn't they see that? Why didn't I see that? Well, the reason I didn't see it is, because I didn't look, because I put my trust and my life in their hands. Next time, because I can do all this work myself. Next time, I said to my wife, I'm going to buy some tools. When I get some spare cash, I'm going to buy some tools, a socket set and some tools, so I can do the work on this car myself, because that just goes to show me, which I knew anyway, that the work is shoddy. It's shoddy, and brakes is a very, very important part to life, isn't it? To survival instincts, driving a car or a motorcycle, it's important. So the next time, like I said, I'm going to buy some tools, and the work that needs to be done, I'll do it. It was like I had the clutch changed in this when I first got it. I knew the clutch was worn, and I had some mobile mechanics, and they come here to fix it, and it was horrible. It was pissing down that day, and I got some plastic and put it under the car, and they got the gearbox off and took the clutch out, and they took it to the shop. Because here, I don't know about where you are in the Philippines, but here, you can't say, can I have a clutch for a DA62, blah, 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 and they will get one off the shelf. Here, no, you have to take the clutch out, and they match it up. They simply match it up. Anyway, they got it back. Looking wrong clutch, wasn't it? And they were going to fit it, but I thought, they put it on, and I said, look, it's moving, like on the splines. I said, that's not the right pressure plate. It's not the right plate. There was half a millimeter play on the plate. So I took it back to Dipolog. Don't forget, I'm paying for the gasoline for these guys to keep going backwards and forwards through their error. Anyway, they come back with the right one, and they said, oh, yeah, so you're right. Yeah, we did get the wrong one. I said, I thought so. And they did it, and when they put it back together, it was hard. It was really hard. I mean, it's a new clutch, like a new pressure plate, but even so, it wasn't hard because it was a new pressure plate. It wasn't. And I said, there's something wrong. I said, where have you routed the cable? Because obviously taking the gearbox off, they took the cable off. They said, sir, you want a new cable? Because it was worn. So I said, yeah. So they took the cable out, and I got a new cable. So I'm banging it, and they fitted that. Well, they hadn't routed it properly. I know this is boring for you people, isn't it? This is fucking boring for you people. But they hadn't routed it in a straight line to the gearbox. So it was like a snake. It was like either. I said, that's the problem. No, sir, it's not. That's the problem. I said, the cable's got to be as straight as it possibly can. I said, it's no use winding around here and winding. They said, it won't reach, sir. I said, well, the other one did. I said, is it the same length? He said, yeah. I said, well, then it's got to go. It's because it was awkward to feed it through. So they just went for the easiest option. Anyway, they left, right, because they wouldn't do it. So I did it. I was fucking under the car. It was pissing down my rain. I was soaking wet. It was running down the back of my neck and everything, the water. I did it. Perfect. So what I'm saying, people, here is when you get things fixed, you got to check it, especially if it's something to do with a deadly part, a very important part of the car, the brakes. You check everything and take it to, if there is reputable places here. I don't know. I really don't know. It just seems to me it's all like shoddy and budgy, like Philippine style. Like the fuse boxes in here, I looked because the car wouldn't start one day, and I thought this might be a fuse. I looked and looked, and it was intermittent. It would start, and then it would just stop as you were driving along. I thought that's something to do with the fuel pump. That stop getting the fuel or the spark. Took the fuse. There's fucking fuse there, right? Yeah, it was a fuse, and they just wrapped like a little bit of copper around it, like a bit of copper wire. And of course, when it was getting hot, it was expanding, retracting. That's why it was making a connection and not. And that's just Philippine way of working. They improvise rather than go and spend 10 pesos on a fuse or whatever they are. And I checked all the fuses, and there was a few like that, so I changed them all, put all new fuses in. But that's what I'm saying, people. When you take bikes, it's not too bad, I don't think, with bikes, because when they're changing the brakes on a bike, it's very easy. It's very easy on a car, but just be careful. And that poor guy who was killed, I don't know his nationality, but he was a foreigner here. I don't know if he was a tourist or if he was a long stayer, but the bus hit him, knocked him off the bike, ran over his head, and just drove off. That's what I mean. So, people, that's it, really. Look, my wife is doing the washing. Can I show you? How I turn this around? Wrong way. She's down there somewhere. Can you see her? I don't know if I've got this in the right direction. I can't see it. There she goes, look. With little Jackie boy. Oh, turn it back to Stevie. This gimbal's good, but I just don't know how to use it properly. Anyway, nice to be back, and See you all around for the next episode. Thank you, take good care, and over and out. Bye-bye, people. Bye-bye.